The Wellness Hour. An in-depth discussion with today's top physicians and medical leaders. And now, your host, Randy Alvarez.
You're watching The Wellness Hour, leader in medical news and information. I'm Randy Alvarez. Today's topic, what you need to know if you're considering liposuction. Turns out, according to my first guest, board-certified plastic surgeon, not all doctors are doing it the same way. And so we welcome Dr. Seare. Dr. Seare, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Randy.
All right. Yeah, very interesting, by the way. I've told you, I've talked to a lot of guys over the last 10 years throughout the U.S. and Canada, and you're really into lipo. And I'm not trying to endorse you here, but it's true. You're passionate about it. Now, before we get into the topic, and you brought a lot of photos, we'll get to those.
Okay.
Who's the typical patient?
Who isn't the typical patient? There are very few people who don't need lipo. It amazes me every day. People who come in, and my staff says, well, what in the heck did they want? Because there's always a little area that bothers somebody, and you may not see that.
Okay.
And our audience might have
So who doesn't it mean that just about everybody tells you that they want lipo?
Yeah,
okay.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah. And we do anybody from 18 to 72. That's what I've done in San Diego.
2 years old?
My oldest patient was 99.
So lipo's become more mainstream now. Is it more accepted?
Totally mainstream. I can't tell you a category of people, nationality, age, gender, profession, who hasn't had it, hasn't considered having it. So all of us secretly want lipo, according to you. And speaking of secretly, I've taken care of 2 Dancing with the Stars champions.
That's right. You have a celebrity following.
We've taken care of people in Hollywood that you would know and recognize, and these are people who don't like to talk about it, but we can give them back so that they can go to their profession and do what they need to do. And they look fantastic on camera.
And the mommy makeover crowd.
After pregnancy, 1 or 2 kids, mommy's put on a few pounds, and it's not because she's not doing everything she's supposed to. She'll be going to the gym every day. She'll be burning a lot of calories. But again, this lipodystrophy fat keeps growing and growing and growing, almost like a cancer. That once it comes, it'll never get back. Those fat cells are permanently plumped, and they don't like to shrink. And the only way they'll come off is through extreme malnutrition.
Okay. Now, all you do is lipo, by the way, or exclusively? Are you pretty much set up for lipo?
Pretty much lipo. We do things that are ancillary with lipo. We do fat transfers back into the buttocks and the breasts and the face. We do skin excisions like tummy tucks and breast tightening. We do facial fat transfer back into the face with many tucks or not, and so basically everything I deal with is lipo, and it's this wonderful stem cell rich, great stuff.
Well, I told you why. I asked you why do you like lipo. People don't know this, but I have access. I get to hear some of the behind the scenes of what plastic surgeons talk about, and probably I bet three guys that like lipo, maybe 4. That like lipo. Why do you like lipo?
Well,
tedious, they say.
It is tedious. It's very physical. I can lose up to 4 pounds during a long procedure. It is just not what people like to do. Plus, it takes me about an hour an area, where most people...
But you like it. But why do you like it?
I get such great results. I love the three-dimensionality. Michelangelo only got to use Carrara marble, and I have a beautiful body every day to sculpt and try to get back to original or better. And so it's really
that way. Very interesting.
God's medium.
You mentioned laser and things like that.
Yeah.
People are calling me, Randy, I want to get on your show, talk about laser. You're not a big fan of laser.
It holds so much promise, but it's not there yet. The laser burns.
Okay. But isn't it going in and melting the fat? It makes it so easy to suck it out.
Well, great, easy for the doctor. Do you want lumpy, bumpy, irregular places, or do you want a sponge where we take it out with little teeny pieces and collapse the sponge and then let it heal? Or would you rather have that sponge fill in with scar tissue? The laser and the vaser create scar tissue, and we don't get the transformational results with these modalities that we get with our microlipo. And what
you want it microlipo? Is that what you call it?
We call it microlipo. We go in with these very small cannulas, and 1 millimeter at a time, about as big as a BB. We take this fat out, and We protect the arteries and the veins and the nerves, much like picking grapes off a vine. You wouldn't come in with a flamethrower and burn the whole vineyard down, pick up the raisins off the ground. You know, the laser and the vaser freeze oil, which causes scar tissue. It damages the vessels, and it burns it. You know, I wouldn't do a plastic closure and come along and burn it after. And by burning on the inside, we're causing more scar tissue.
So you like doing it without that? With a micro cannula.
Absolutely.
But it takes longer the way you do it.
It takes a lot longer.
But you get better results, you say.
It does. And I don't care how long it takes because the patient doesn't pay for it taking longer. I can work as long as I want. My staff always says I am, and I believe I am.
Okay. Now your center, by the way, because you have your own, the surgery's done there on site.
Yes.
You have operating rooms there.
2 operating rooms.
And
these we designed specifically for the awake anesthesia. We know exactly what to do to make you feel comfortable during the procedure. Most patients say it's easier than going to the dentist. Let me tell you a story. This lady I told that to, right during the procedure, she said, "This was nothing." And I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" And she said, "Well, this is nothing. I expected something a lot more." And I said, "Well, didn't I tell you it was easier than going to the dentist?" And she said, "I went to the dentist yesterday. Sat there with my mouth open and I was drooling and I couldn't talk and my jaw hurt." Said, "This is way easier than going to the dentist."
Liposuction. You know, we should mention, because I think you said this to me on the phone, that because you're a designer, orthopedic surgeon, you have patents, that you even design the tables to be a little softer.
Yep, the tables are softer. We can position them in different positions. The awake anesthesia.
Well, let's talk about that, because I keep bypassing that. So aside from the fact that you know, they're awake, I mean, what's the real benefit to the patient?
It's safer.
Okay.
Makes it fun. Makes it fun for me to be able to talk to the patient during the surgery. We get to interact. We get to bond. Every day when I go to work, I have a new best friend.
Really?
I ask them things about, what's the most amazing thing that ever happened to you? One of them said, Aaron Brockovich saved my life.
Interesting.
Another was bombed by the Unabomber.
Okay.
Another said, you know, I went to the Indian casino and I won $10,000. And I gave a third of that to each of my 3 kids to buy a house and a car and college education. Went back 2 weeks later, won $15,000.
Okay.
That was God's way to tell me this one was for me, and here I am.
All right.
And so we get to hear these stories. Plus, I can put that patient in positions that make it easier for me to sculpt accurately and symmetrically, and so we can get these tremendous transformations.
So you call it awake anesthesia.
Yes.
You could move the patient around. Do you think you get better symmetry doing it that way?
Absolutely. And
why? Why?
Because fat is a mobile organ, and it's a 3-dimensional sculpture. You know, Michelangelo didn't carve David just from the front.
Is that a fair comparison, though?
Well, he's a lot better artist in marble than I am, so probably
But are
not.
you really sculpting or just sucking out fat?
No, it's sculpting. We have to sculpt. And in doing that, we need to put patients in positions that would drive an anesthesiologist crazy. Got a tube down their throat, they've got to be strapped to the table, they've got IVs, and we can just say, here, roll over here. Oh, and get it nice and smooth.
So is it just an IV sedation then? Or
we
what is
don't
it?
even do that. We have a special cocktail of medicines. We give pills. Partway during the procedure, we give a little IV to get some fluids.
So we have IV, okay.
And this little cocktail, most of the time they don't remember much of what went on, and everything they remember seems to be great. So we have a ball during the surgery.
Does it help you? What about downtime? Does it affect downtime at all?
It is so much better than a general anesthesia. You don't get nauseated after. You don't lose a day. You know, I've had a patient the very next day after one of these around-the-world militaries get on his motorcycle and come and see me.
Okay.
So it is
around-the-world liposuction. That's what you
under
call it.
awake anesthesia, and we're able to do it without general anesthesia and all of the things people have had. Have you had general anesthesia? Did you like it?
Yeah. No, nobody likes it.
Nobody likes it. Nobody likes it. It's expensive.
So this isn't gimmicky, though. This isn't just gimmicky to save money on an anesthesiologist.
This is something I've pioneered for the last 20 years, and that's why I'm having so fun at our Carlsbad offices, because, you know, we can do it safely. We can do it cost effectively. We can bring lipo to be affordable for the masses. And that's why I'm busy. That's why we can do military people. They don't have a lot of money.
All right.
Their wives don't have a lot of money. We're staying busy because we can do a great job safely and comfortably, and they're sending their friends.
But the high rollers should go to you because of the better results.
The better result. It's not, and they don't have the downtime of general anesthesia, and they don't have to risk the potential disasters that can happen with general anesthesia.
So it's safer. Okay, let's
much safer.
Let's talk about the different areas of the body you treat. Then we're going to go to the photos.
Yep. There is almost not an area I haven't done. Done the back of a head on a wrestler. And I've had a lady who was teased in grade school because she looked like a chipmunk. We suctioned her cheeks. Typically we'll do under the chin and the neck. In fact, I have a published article on extended anatomical dissection of the chin and neck that I presented 20 years ago.
Okay.
We go on down and we can, on a bodybuilder, I suctioned the tops of his trapezius to make it look better.
Wow.
We typically do the guy's gynecomastia.
That's male breasts.
Male breasts, and nobody.
Man boobs.
Nobody wants man boobs.
Okay.
Doc, get rid of these man boobs. I don't want anything to do with them. What can you do?
But I hear that's a really tough area.
It's
that it can look really funny.
Tough area.
That it's, some guys don't even want to touch that. You like it.
You need an artist. You need an artist. You got to spend your time. This is not an area that takes an hour. It's an area that takes several hours sometimes.
Really?
Usually involves a little bit to the side, can involve the axilla and in front, and so we sculpt the area. We see where the fat is. If you just go in and suck a little bit of fat off of here, it doesn't do anything. Most liposurgeons remove 20 to 30%.
Okay.
I'm a 90% guy. If it's there, let's get rid of it.
Get rid of it.
Match it to what your fat is in your spared areas, which is your forearm and your arm. If you pinch your forearm on the inside and your arm, that's a general indication of your generalized body fat.
So get it all.
And if this is thin, we match everything else to that. We want this beautiful anatomy that has bones and muscles and definition draped with very thin skin.
Is it more men than women that are coming in, by the way?
I see more men than women in lipo,
Really?
and that is just astounding. No one I've ever talked to has that statistic, because here I am in Carlsbad, halfway
doing a lot of
between
military,
Miramar and Pendleton, and we're doing a lot of military.
Tell me about arms. How well do they treat?
Arms treat great. You don't need laser to treat arms. If you can get rid of that fat so it doesn't hang, keep it in the right garment so it stays up, get that sponge to collapse down, we get amazing changes.
It will grab back?
Absolutely. You have to do it so it grabs back. If you leave 50% of the fat, it'll sag. If you leave just that right amount of fat that you need for padding and to look smooth and good, and you get that to wrap up and secure down and stick back, you get these amazing
Do you
arms.
meet women that are like, that confide in you, they're ashamed of their arms their whole life, or they avoid clothing?
Well, I got to tell you the story. In my residency, we went to the ASPRS meeting, which is plastic surgery meeting in Toronto, and my wife looked around, everybody's tight and big-breasted, and looked at their arms and their ball gowns, and she said, "Bill, if you could do something for those arms, you'd make $1 million."
Okay.
And we're doing something for those arms.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And so you can wear those cocktail dresses. And arms are something we love to do because we get universally good results.
What about a fit people? Are the people getting fitter and fitter? Are they getting heavier and heavier, or both, that are coming in for lipo these days?
We don't do the extreme heavy people unless they've had a lap band procedure or they've had something done, and then we will remove the skin and do fat suction, and that's a whole category of patients we do.
You do those too?
Maybe
Okay.
about 10%, and some of our biggest, most dramatic changes are those guys. You wouldn't want to look like the after. They are thrilled to have this
Would you like to see
monumental
more of
change.
those people coming in?
Absolutely.
The
Yeah.
lap band crowd?
Absolutely.
They just don't know where to go?
Well, they don't know where to go. They have it done under general anesthesia. A lot of people, their insurance doesn't cover it, so they figure, well, it's going to be $20,000. I can't afford that. We make it real affordable.